As the USS Voyager continued to traverse the remote region of space, following the trail of temporal disturbances, the crew began to experience a growing sense of déjà vu. Captain Janeway, sitting in her ready room, furrowed her brow as she felt an odd sense of familiarity wash over her. "We've already had this conversation, haven't we?" she asked Tuvok, who appeared equally perplexed. Tuvok raised an eyebrow. "Indeed, Captain. It seems that we are experiencing a temporal anomaly." In the meantime, 7 of 9 and B'Elanna Torres were examining sensor data in the engineering section, trying to make sense of the situation. B'Elanna tapped her fingers on the console, deep in thought. "It appears we are trapped in a time loop," she concluded. Back on the bridge, Harry Kim's voice echoed with frustration. "We need to find a way out of this loop, but every attempt seems to fail." With a sigh, Captain Janeway turned to Q, who had been observing the chaos with an air of amusement. "Q, can you help us escape this time loop?" Q smirked, pleased to be of assistance. "I suppose I could, Captain. But are you truly willing to accept my help?" Janeway hesitated, her gaze steady and determined. "All right, Q, do what you must, but remember our agreement." Q snapped his fingers, and the ship began to shudder. The crew held their breath, unsure of what would happen next. As the tremors subsided, Captain Janeway glanced around, noting that the atmosphere on the bridge had changed. The crew members were back to their regular tasks, the sense of déjà vu gone. Tuvok looked up from his console, his expression unreadable. "Captain, it appears that we have successfully broken free from the time loop." Captain Janeway nodded, relieved. "Good work, everyone, and thank you, Q." Q grinned, bowing theatrically. "You're welcome, Captain. Just remember, I'm always here to help." Though the crew remained wary of Q's intentions, they couldn't deny that his assistance had saved them from the time loop. They continued on their mission, more determined than ever to uncover the truth behind the missing Q and the mysterious temporal disturbances. As the Voyager continued on its perilous journey, the crew faced one challenge after another, from spatial rifts to sudden power outages. Each obstacle tested their resilience and adaptability, drawing them closer as a team. Through it all, Q watched from the sidelines, offering occasional assistance but mostly keeping his distance. The crew couldn't help but wonder about Q's true intentions and what lay ahead as they ventured further into the unknown. The further the Voyager ventured into the remote region of space, the more intense the anomalies became. The crew worked tirelessly to navigate through the dangers, while 7 of 9 and B'Elanna Torres did their best to understand the nature of the temporal disturbances. As they neared the heart of the disturbances, a powerful energy signature appeared on the sensors. 7 of 9 called out, "Captain, we have detected an extremely powerful energy source. It seems to be the origin of the temporal disturbances." Captain Janeway leaned forward in her chair, concern etched on her face. "Can you identify the source, 7? 7 hesitated. "It is unlike anything we have encountered before. It could be an ancient, powerful entity with the ability to manipulate time and space." The revelation sent a chill down the spine of the crew. Tom Paris gulped. "That's not exactly comforting news." Q, who had been observing the situation unfold, finally spoke up. "This entity may be connected to my disappearance. My future self was investigating it when I lost contact with him." Captain Janeway turned to face Q, her eyes narrowing. "And you didn't think to mention this before? What else are you not telling us?" Q shrugged, a hint of guilt on his face. "I didn't want to alarm you, Captain, but it seems we have no choice but to confront this entity if we are to find my future self and restore the temporal balance." "We need a plan," Captain Janeway said. Tuvok offered a suggestion. "We could attempt to establish communication with the entity, appeal to its reason, and request the release of Q's future self." 7 of 9 chimed in. "Alternatively, we could attempt to disrupt the entity's energy source, potentially weakening it and allowing us to rescue Q's future self." Q, who had been uncharacteristically silent, finally spoke up. "Either way, I am at your disposal, Captain. I will do whatever it takes to ensure the success of our mission." Captain Janeway studied Q's face, looking for any hint of deception. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. We'll begin by attempting communication. If that fails, we'll move on to 7's plan." With their plan in place, the Voyager crew initiated contact with the powerful entity. Captain Janeway's attempt to communicate with the entity was met with hostility. Instead of responding, the entity unleashed a powerful energy pulse, striking the USS Voyager with incredible force. The impact nearly destroyed the ship, leaving it adrift with all systems offline and life support failing. The crew scrambled to stabilize the ship, their faces filled with panic and desperation. Captain Janeway barked orders, trying to maintain control over the chaotic situation. "We need to get life support back online immediately. B'Elanna, Harry, do whatever it takes." B'Elanna and Harry Kim worked feverishly, their fingers flying over the damaged consoles. "We're trying, Captain, but it's not looking good," B'Elanna shouted over the din of alarms. At that moment, Q, who had been quietly observing the chaos, had finally had enough. "Enough!" he roared, his voice echoing through the ship. A brilliant glow of light emanated from his body, filling the entire bridge. The crew shielded their eyes from the blinding radiance. As the light receded, the ship began to shake, but this time, it was different. The crew watched in amazement as the damaged systems came back online, and their injuries healed before their very eyes. Q had fully repaired the ship and restored the crew's health. With a determined expression on his face, Q phased through the ship's hull and confronted the entity directly. He unleashed a powerful energy beam, striking the entity with the force of a supernova. The entity, caught off guard, disintegrated under the assault, leaving nothing but a faint echo of its once mighty presence. As the deadly blast hurtled towards Voyager, Q quickly erected a protective force field around the ship. The crew watched in awe as the explosion's energy washed over them, leaving them unscathed. They had never seen Q display such raw power and determination before, and it left them with a newfound respect for the enigmatic being.